All right, good afternoon. Happy Hanukkah, happy almost Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos. Lots going on this weekend. Hope you should have a great one. We're going to learn a Rashi from the sixth Aliyah today in Parshas Miketz. The sixth Aliyah, we finally see the long-waited for encounter between Yosef and Binyamin after all these years apart. The two brothers are reunited. The whole plan of Yosef and why he accuses the brothers on their first visit to Egypt and why he asks them to come back only on the condition that they bring their brother, why he imprisoned Shimon. All of those factors were all to get Binyamin to come down to Mitzrayim to have that reunification between them. So in our Aliyah, we finally see them come. The previous Aliyah, the brothers convince Yaakov after they run out of food that they need to go back to Mitzrayim. He gives them all of the instructions, bring gifts for the person who accused you, bring this, bring that, and yes, bring your brother. Yehuda agrees to take the responsibility upon himself to guarantee Binyamin's return, and so on and so forth. Yaakov finally lets them go. They go down to Mitzrayim, and as they arrive, the beginning of our Aliyah today, it says, Vayar Yosef Yitam es Binyamin, that he sees them coming, and Yosef sees Binyamin is with them. And he immediately commands those who were in charge of his household, Vayomer la'asher al-beiso, Haveyas anashim habaisa, utvoach tevach v'hachein, he immediately commands the person in charge of his household to go seek out this band of brothers and to tell them to immediately come to his home, to Yosef's home, because they're going to prepare a meal and they're going to eat with him batzohorayim. They're going to eat with him that day. There's much to say about these words, tevoach, tevach, v'hachein, the expression he uses in terms of the meal that was going to be prepared and why he specifically says Batzohorayim. There's a lot of interesting things about this. But we see, of course, the person who he commands this immediately fulfills the command. Vayaseh ish kasher amar Yosef. Of course, he's going to fulfill the command of such a powerful person. Vayaveh ha'isha sanashim be'aseh Yosef. He brings them to his home. Now, here's the pasuk I want to look at with you. As he brings the brothers to the home of Yosef, the pasuk tells us, Vayiru ha'anashim ki huv'u beis Yosef. The brothers, I won't translate it now, but Yiru, that they were brought to the house of Yosef, Vayomru, and they say to each other, Al davar hakesef hashab amta rosenu batchila anachnu muva'im. It must be because of the money that he put in our bags when we went back to Canaan that we're being brought here to his home, liskolel aleinu, ulisnapel aleinu, to accuse us and to ambush us, to take us and our animals, everything as his possessions, as his slaves, to punish us for the theft. It's interesting that they pin it on that, nothing to do with the fact that Shimon is still in prison and that they were bringing Binyamin and they were part of the original condition and they were accused of being spies, none of that, but just to resolve the theft that he was ready to accuse them of. That's what they thought. The question is, what's this word vayiru? On the surface, it would seem like it's saying, Vayiru, they see. Anashim kuvu beis Yosef. The brothers see that they were brought to Yosef's home, and they put two and two together, and they conclude, they deduce that they must be being punished for what they originally did. Right? So the sight of being brought to Yosef's home, the idea that they can see now all these factors coming together, makes them think that this is not a usual occurrence. People are not usually brought to the home of the viceroy of Egypt and such a place of importance, especially people who have been accused of being spies, not going to be brought into the inner sanctum of the king. And so the fact that they're brought there must be because he's getting ready to punish them, getting ready to accuse them in some way. But Rashi points out that Yiru here has two yuds. And we mentioned way back a couple of days ago when we read the pasuk where Yaakov says to the brothers, to his children, Lama tisra'u, that there's a relationship between the words yira and re'iyah, sight and fear. We see the overlap of those, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, in the experience of the Akedah. Yira'eh. Is it a place of fear, right? Hashem yira'eh. Or is it a place where Hashem is seen? Hashem yira'eh. Hashem will be seen. He's seen to Avraham at the Akedah and Har Moriah, but it's also a place where he discovers that Avram is Yireh Hashem. So the Yirah are related. Sight and fear are related. There's much to say about that relationship. So it's unclear here if Vayiru means that they saw that they were being brought to the house of Yosef and therefore concluded Vayomru, and they say to each other, we must be brought here because we're being punished. Or is Vayiru related to fear? somehow they feared that they were being brought to the house of Yosef, and they say to each other, based on that fear, oh, we must be being punished. So Rashi says, Kasu b'shnei yudin. The hint here is that it's written with two yuds. When it's written with two yuds, it's indicative of the fact that it means fear. Vayiru, they became afraid. But Targumo, it's proven by the fact that the Targum Onkelos on this pasuk, Vayiru, is udechilu, and they were afraid. So what is the fear of here? Kihuvu beis Yosef, ve'ein derech habayim lishbor bar lalun beis Yosef. It's unusual to be brought to such a place of importance when you're just coming to buy food, especially when you've been previously accused of being spies. Ki bepunda ka'uth sheba'ir. Normally people just stay in an inn in the city. They're not brought to dine and to sleep in the house of the king. Vayiru, and they were afraid. She'ein ze el la'osfam el hamishmar. And this, they were afraid that they weren't being brought there except for the fact that he wanted to bring them into imprisonment. I want to suggest something here, which I think speaks to the relationship between yira, fear, and sight, and specifically in this context. Perhaps vayiru is both. They saw and they were afraid. And that is because sometimes a person being noticed can be very uncomfortable. There's times we want to be noticed. There's times we want to be seen. There's times we want to be in the spotlight. And there's other times when being in the spotlight can be very uncomfortable. When being in the spotlight can be very scary for a number of reasons. This is one of those moments when I think the brothers did not want to be in the spotlight. They wanted to slip into Egypt unnoticed, right? If you remember the Rashi, we didn't learn this, but Yaakov tells them to make sure when they come into Egypt, they don't gain a lot of attention. They don't come in as a band, like they're going to be accused of being spies. You come in this entrance, you come in this entrance, come in quietly, don't be seen, don't be noticed. Well, now as the opposite happened, they're very much noticed. The king sends his emissary immediately when they enter Mitzrayim, say, oh, you guys, you come here. You come to the place of most prominence, to the place of most notoriety, to the place where you're going to be most seen and most noticed. And that induced fear in the brothers. This is the time when they wanted to go unnoticed. They wanted to go unseen. Drawing attention to yourself can be something very uncomfortable in a variety of different circumstances, and this is one of them. To me, that speaks to the relationship between sight, between being seen, and the emotion of fear, particularly in this context where the two are very much linked for the brothers, but also for all of us. Think about what those contexts are when we want to be seen and sometimes when we don't want to be seen and we don't want to be noticed, and why perhaps the idea of being seen and being noticed and being in the spotlight is something that causes us some anxiety sometimes as well. Wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos and a wonderful Hanukkah, a wonderful Rosh Chodesh, and only good things. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good
Thank you,
Shabbos.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hanukkah
Hanukkah Sameach.
Hanukkah Sameach.